berbahagia Tan Sri Salestinor, Ahli Lembaga Pemegang Amanah Yayasan Kebajikan, His Excellency Mr. Muhammad Abu Daga, Wakil Duta Palestin, Honorable Dr. Rada Al-Jadba, Chief Medical Officer. I'm also a doctor. I do ophthalmology of YKN-RWA for Palestinian refugees. Yang berbahagia Datuk Zulkifli Ramli, Ketua Eksekutif Yayasan Kebajikan Negara, ahli-ahli lembaga pemegang amanah, pengurusan tertinggi Kementerian Pembangunan Wanita, Keluarga dan Masyarakat, rakan-rakan strategik dan para penyumbang yang murah hati yang telah menyumbang kepada YKN-Tabung Rakyat Palestin, para aktivis misi kemanusiaan Palestin, rakan-rakan media, tuan-tuan, puan-puan, terutamanya kalangan orang Palestin di negeri kita sekarang ini. Hadirin hadirat yang dimuliakan, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Saya sungguh tertarik dengan kehadiran Doktor saudara puan yang dah datang daripada jauh, datang pada hari ini. Dan pada pagi ini saya berbesar hati kerana dapat bersama-sama dalam majlis hari ini. Terima kasih kepada hadirin hadirat kerana sudi meluangkan masa menghadiri majlis ini. Memandangkan kita mempunyai tetamu daripada luar negeri, izinkan saya mengucap dalam bahasa Inggeris. Ladies and gentlemen, this year marks the 70th year of the An-Nakba, the catastrophe that befell the Palestinian people during the establishment of the State of Israel. It marks the start of a tragedy and the destruction of Palestinian villages and communities that had long existed before 1948. No other community in this modern era has endured continuous suffering as much as the Palestinians. They were the victims of ethnic cleansing even before we even know about the term ethnic cleansing, and Palestinians have lived in apartheid conditions much longer than the blacks in South Africa. This is also September. 36 years ago, in September, around 3,000 Palestinians were massacred by Israeli-backed militia in the Sabra Shatila refugee camps in Lebanon. Life has not changed much for the Palestinians since. Those living in Gaza have had it worse with continuous blockade by Israel. Homes destroyed by Israeli bombardments could not be repaired because Israeli blockade prevented building materials from entering Gaza. Medical services are severely strained by the lack of equipment and medicine. The ill and the injured Palestinians often die due to being denied access to medical treatment only available in Israel. Palestinian children, as we see here today, it really tugs your heartstrings to look at them, cannot play in the fields without fear of being shot by Israeli soldiers. Palestinian women cannot live a day without wondering whether their husbands would be able to bring home food for their families. Palestinian fathers cannot leave their homes without wondering whether they will be subjected to arbitrary arrest. Many Palestinian women go to sleep with their hijabs and headscarves because they fear that their houses may be destroyed by Israeli bombardment, and these women would like to have their bodies covered decently under the rubble, modestly dressed. The conflict in Palestine is not just about a conflict between Palestinians and Israel. It is a conflict about our notion of decency and fairness as human beings, and the Zionist regime's continued mistreatment of Palestinians. Nelson Mandela said it aptly when he stated, "We know too well that our freedom is not complete without the freedom of the Palestinians." To helping Palestinians is more about our conscience as decent and caring people. Only those who are heartless and have no conscience can ignore the plight and the injustice of Palestinians. We in Malaysia have become so used to liberties and prosperity that we enjoy, we take it for granted what we have today. It may be difficult for some of us to comprehend what Palestinians have to endure. We do not have to fear bombs and missiles hitting our houses. Our children do not have to wonder whether the schools will be open tomorrow. It's just when there is a bit of floods. When people only see despair and destitute every day, they see no hope. And when they see no hope, they start believing that death is better than life. That is the problem. When there's nothing to lose, that's when you have people blowing themselves up. So this is why we have to do something. We have to help. And when people are constantly worried about whether they built today can still be around next week, it is difficult to think about investing in the future. When they think that they cannot have a future, they'll be wondering why the enemy should also have a future. Peace in Palestine will remain elusive as long as Israel continues to occupy Palestinian land, and we allow it. And the great nations, the powers, allow it. Former US President Jimmy Carter remarked, the preeminent obstacle to peace is Israel's occupation of Palestine. Meanwhile, life will continue to remain the same for Palestinians. Palestinian children are the group that is most vulnerable. They face their daily lives under blockade and occupation, and the oppression that they have to endure rob them of their innocence. Many have been killed and many have been maimed, and some have become orphans and have to care for their surviving siblings at a very young age. So for Palestinian children, schools provide them with respite from hardship at home. The schools give them a moment where children can actually have a childhood. It also provides them with hope. Education opens doors to personal development and opportunities, like Dr. Banda. At least she had hope. She made it. And you can see that there is a chance that if we help, there will be more Dr. Banda coming up. There is more that we can do. That whatever little that we do can help. It also provides education that opens doors to personal development and opportunities. Closing this door will destroy your future. And the role of UNRWA, since 1949, United Nations Relief and Welfare Agency has been responsible for managing the schools and medical clinics in Gaza, thank you very much, the West Bank and the Palestinian refugee camps. And we have been having this because the international community contributed to this, to their fund. But today, UNRWA runs 711 schools and more than 150 clinics, and more than 500,000 Palestinian children are dependent on this schooling system. And when President Trump stopped all aid, that is indirectly to snuff them out. So this is why we in Malaysia would like to have a little bit of contribution to help this plight. The government itself is constrained by our financial institution that we inherited from the previous government. So we therefore decided to have a National Welfare Foundation to initiate this fundraising campaign to help our Palestinian friends. And we are actually grateful that it's not just about religion. It is about humanity. It is about how we treat our fellow humans. This is most important. Even though for us Muslims, where the third holiest mosque, Masjid al-Aqsa, is in Palestine. We have a strong history of our religion in Palestine. We have the story of how our Prophet went in his trip for Isra and Mi'raj from Palestine. So this is close to our hearts, it's important. But as I said, that it is not just about religion, it is also how humans treat treat humans. This is why we have come together, and we know that actually our country, Malaysia, is going through a difficult period. But this does not mean that Malaysians are not generous. We can still share with whatever we have. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that even when we have little, we can still share with others. Because the food of one person, the Prophet said, is enough for two. And the food of two people is enough for four. And the food of four people is enough for 8. All religions teach their followers to strive to do good deeds. The National Welfare Foundation had in the past initiated campaigns to help victims of wars in other countries. In all of our campaigns, we relied and appealed to our conscience, generosity and desire of Malaysians to do more good. We are again appealing to your generosity and your conscience and your heart for this campaign. We do not want to be sucked in the politics of any issue. The children who have been made orphans do not understand politics. All we want to help is that to give them a better future, and the widow who has to care for her children and her ill parents do not have the time to get involved in politics. What she needs is medical help, and we all can help to provide for this. And to remain silent and do nothing is to allow for an abnormality to become a norm slowly. When abuse, oppression, and injustice become a norm, it is a tragedy for all humanity. Such a tragedy can spread and become new norms elsewhere. Who cares? This is the worst thing that can ever happen to a human being, when you stop to care. We've seen how the same logic was used by Israel in Palestine, that was used in Bosnia for ethnic cleansing. Same logic to evict and prosecute the Rohingyas. The world saw the same logic at work in Rwanda with the genocide. In all of these tragedies, human beings allowed their most primitive instincts to dominate and false standards of decency to be ignored. And that was when decency died, humanity died. We don't want our children to inherit a world that sees bigotry, hatred and oppression and abuse as normal. Do we want to continue to look at violence as a a tool to subjugate and destroy dignity of anyone? So we have to partake in this, at least contribute whatever we can in making the world a slightly better place, inshallah. I understand there are critics who question why we help only the Palestinians. As I mentioned, the National Welfare Foundation has been involved in fundraising activities before this for other tragedies. It had in the past done fundraising for conflicts in Bosnia and Iraq. And the effort we've made today is not the only effort and should not be the only effort to help areas of conflict. NGOs such as our strategic partners are actively involved in extending the help to all other areas, and anyone desiring to help in any area of conflict are welcome to do so. There are those also who can question whether we are doing enough to help our fellow Malaysians. Our effort as a foundation to help Malaysians has never been stopped. It's never stopped. And we have never reduced it. In fact, we're trying to extend it. The National Welfare Foundation will continue to provide various services in offering Malaysians, and we expect to offer more, inshallah. And performing good deeds should not be constrained by boundaries. Let us remember that we were faced with disaster such as Highland Towers before, and Kelantan floods in 2014-15, and other countries extended their help and assistance to us. We are part of a universal brotherhood and not a reclusive tribe. The Quran always reminds us to perform good deeds, and the example of those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah is like a seed which grows 7 spikes. In each spike is 100 grains. Allah multiplies His reward on whom He wills, for Allah is vast knowing and is vast and knowing. Meaning of Surah Al-Baqarah ayat 261. Performing good deeds is not about trade-off between helping someone and not helping others. It is not a zero-sum game. Good deeds is about sharing and helping more and more people. The more good we do, the better it is for us. Confucius said, if you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help someone else. Then I'm happy to say that we have with us Miss Zohar Redgad Shamali, who grew up in Israel, and how she can actually detract herself from the atrocities and the cruelty of Israel, even though she's an Israeli herself. And then she has come all the way, thank you very much, from Spain to share with us. This is important. It is not about just Muslims among Muslims, and it is between Muslims and Jews, because Muslims and Jews are like cousins. One is all from Abraham, our Prophet Abraham alayhi salam. So we should be actually helping each other rather than killing each other. And with Dr. Fauzia, I am especially fond of Dr. Fauzia because she looks like me. And she went on the Freedom Flotilla for Gaza movement, and she told me that she's like me also. I don't think we like boats very much. And how when she was in the flotilla, when the strong waves, you will be thrown around the boat, and until you throw up, until there's nothing else to throw up. Imagine that. And they do this to try to reach and help the Palestinians. May Allah give you all the thawab and all the blessings dunya akhirat, inshaAllah. And we have now also with us Dr. Ghada Al-Jadba, who is UNRWA's Chief Health Officer in Gaza. And she knows for sure, because it is her daily experience of all the sufferings of the Palestinians. And she has shared with us what she went through. I would like to welcome both of you to Malaysia. Selamat datang, ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban. I would like also to thank all the donors. Thank you very much for all the donors. We thank you for your empathy and generosity. And I am touched and grateful by the support given by the various industry bodies and players and chambers of commerce to this fundraising initiative. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Malaysians from all ethnic backgrounds and religious persuasions have come together to support this cause. And kindness is something that builds bridges within us and brings us together. I'm also grateful for my fellow cabinet ministers, Yang Muhammad Lim Guan Eng, the finance minister, Yang Muhammad Fizia Soleh, Yang Muhammad Teresa Kok, and members of the parliament, Yang Muhammad Fahmi Fazil, Yang Muhammad Ananda Nur Izzah, and the Mufti of Perlis, you saw just now, Datuk Muhammad Asri Zainal Abidin, because Mazza, who participated in our fundraising video campaigns. Our fundraising effort is aided by our strategic partners, MyCare and Islamic Relief Malaysia. And I would also like to thank Dorset Hotel, Putrajaya, for sponsoring the accommodation for Ms. Rajev Shamalin, and NNF Resources Sindra Berhad for sponsoring her air ticket. Terima kasih banyak. The Ministry of Education Malaysia and the Ministry of Communications and Multimedia Malaysia also played important roles in supporting us. This campaign was also held by the Prime Minister's Department, the Islamic Development Department, Malaysia, as well as the various state religious departments. We were also surrounded by the beautiful sound of the violin played by Miss Endang Haider. Thank you very much, Endang, for that lovely piece, a few pieces actually, and it really sounds so nice. I would also like to thank the media who supported this fundraising campaign, and I'm grateful for all the Palestinian students here and their children with this event. Shukran, ya Shabab. There are many others who helped make this campaign a success, and you know, Allah knows who you are, and Allah bless all of you. Finally, I would like to end my speech with the declaration of Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and officially launch the Palestinian Fund by the National Welfare Foundation. Saya merasa dan sukacita dan mendoakan agar pelancaran ini akan mendapatkan kebaikan dunia akhirat dengan lafaz Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Saya melancarkan tabung Palestin ini. Terima kasih.
Dimohon keselamatan yang amat dan terus berada di atas pentas. Apa yang menggunakan penyampaian sijil penghargaan pada rakan strategik